Hey, what's up? This is Dr. Taylor Krick at the Washington Wellness Center, and this is our next video in our series of whiteboard videos. So these are some of the things that I commonly draw for patients. I do a lot of drawings. I'm very visual, and these are just good visual representations of some really, really important things. So today's video is about blood sugar and the blood sugar roller coaster and blood sugar balance. So we have full webinars on the importance of blood sugar and how to measure your blood sugar, but it's something that we encourage is to use a blood sugar meter to check. And I had somebody say yesterday, they said, well, every time I go in, I've had blood work every 6 months and my blood sugar is pretty normal. It's like, well, okay, so at 8 o'clock in the morning, every 6 months, your blood sugar is normal, but sometimes it's a roller coaster, and we'll have people find, pretty cool things from measuring their blood sugar. So here's some of the things that we want to see, or some of the things that we commonly see. In general, we want it to be just, kind of balanced. So no spikes, no crashes. And quickly, blood sugar dysregulation, obviously the cause of diabetes, but also the cause of a lot of inflammation, one of the flares for autoimmunity, a huge problem with adrenals and with energy production and with mitochondrial imbalances and, etc. And there's going to be some other videos explaining some of those metabolic disturbances. But this is just a really easy thing that's just kind of step number one, is let's make sure that blood sugar is balanced. So some of the things that we want to see, let's say, 80 to 100, and we want to see, and it's not exactly like this, but let's say, breakfast, lunch, dinner, in that kind of ballpark, right? What is typically thought of with blood sugar is more like the diabetic, who is just like always elevated. And, that's very, very common in today's world. It's not as common in our functional medicine practice. It's quite frankly, it's easy to correct unless there's an autoimmune component. Then it gets really, really tricky. But a lot of that can be controlled by what goes in your mouth. What we see way more often is this. Whoa, 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 whoa. And the roller coaster and the waves. And here are some of the problems with that. When blood sugar spikes and goes high, your body releases insulin. So insulin resistance is the root cause of diabetes. It's the root cause of PCOS, the number one cause of infertility. And insulin resistance, so when this kicks off, it releases insulin. We don't want that. But here's the thing, is when it goes low, it kicks off, let's just say, adrenals. Okay, and that's cortisol and epinephrine, or better known as adrenaline. And that's going to raise your blood sugar back up. So if you're constantly riding this roller coaster, you're constantly spiking these hormones, and over time you develop resistance to these hormones and you develop problems. Sometimes it's more fatiguing issues with adrenals, or stress response issues, or inflammation control issues. But you start to develop these problems. Now, what do we see numbers wise? Well, sometimes somebody will measure, let's say after lunch, and they're 135, and that's not astronomical. That's not like, a super high number. But then they'll measure a few hours later and they might be 75, and they want to take a nap and they feel like they're gonna fall asleep. Sometimes people get more the hangry or lightheaded or irritability. Sometimes people really feel like they're gonna pass out. Sometimes a drop goes from 175 to 100, and 100 is not low, but that drop, somebody feels like they're going to die. They feel hypoglycemic. They feel like Betty White in the Snickers commercials. They feel like, somebody feed me now or I'm going to die. And that's what they feel like. They're not. If they go to the hospital or something, they'll tell them it's all anxiety, it's all in your head. They'll check their blood sugar, it's 100. They'll say, your blood sugar is not even low, but they have no idea that an hour before or 2 hours before, it was 175, so it's that drop. Now, one of the things that can cause that drop is something called lactic acidosis, which is a whole nother problem and a metabolic disruption that we see very, very commonly. Lactate is a common cause of like anxiety, of headaches, of soreness, of, just different energy production issues. So there's a whole myriad of problems that can be associated with this, but the easy thing to do is just start tracking. Now, when I have people track, I will tell them, I told somebody this yesterday, there is no rhyme or reason. Track the more numbers, the better. Track when you're angry, track when you're happy, track when you're hungry, track when you're full, before a meal, after a meal. Even continuous glucose meters are beginning to be fairly reasonably priced. I think you can get one now for $175 for a 14-day trial, which is fairly reasonable to just know your blood sugar. And some of my patients who have tracked their blood sugar, they really, really know their bodies and they know how they respond. So in general, we want to see balance, but we don't want to see any spikes. We don't want to see any crashes. In general, lower is better, but not if you have hypoglycemic symptoms or not if you have more the lactic acidosis. So sometimes we have to stair step our way into better metabolism, but people associate metabolism with like how much weight they're losing, and it's not really about that. It's how well your body's burning and breaking down fuel to produce cellular energy. So blood sugar is a really, really crucial part of that.